Are we possibly getting the revival of one of the most beloved Star Wars EU characters of all time? Or is the whole thing just a hoax that someone thought was a good idea? Let's talk about all of that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another movie news video. My name is Joker and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're talking about a supposed rumor that was brought up at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and since it ties into the canon of the possible movies, you never know, this could be breaking movie news. But during the time when I can only imagine this was called the Great Star Wars Purge, Disney, after buying out Lucasfilm, decided to get rid of the entire expanded universe, which was thousands of catalogs of other stories that happened outside of the movies. And of course, alongside that went one of our most beloved characters, Mara Jade. And if you're not really sure who Mara Jade is, she was basically Mara Jade to Skywalker as Gwen Stacy was to Peter Parker. That comparison really doesn't make a whole lot of sense because one of them is still technically canon and still goes throughout the comics, while the other one just kind of got thrown to the wayside, but you get my point. But this whole thing started with a picture that was taken in a bathroom stall at Galaxy's Edge. If you're aware, if you go to the park, all over the place is Orabish, which is the Star Wars language, which is like the text we see all over the Star Wars universe. And there's an app on your phone that you can use to scan all of the Orabish and translate it into English so we can understand what it's saying. Upon doing so, someone found, possibly in a bathroom stall at Galaxy's Edge, one that just had nice gold writing on the side, and when translated it wrote out to say, Mara Jade lives. Now of course this is going to come as a shock to literally everyone because that's one of the biggest Star Wars EU characters we ever had, and suddenly you're just going to be like in a bathroom stall at Galaxy's Edge, a theme park which is still canonical in the Star Wars universe, which I think is kind of neat, but that's the place you're going to tell us that Mara Jade is still alive in canon? Hold up, that can't be right. And that definitely raises a lot of questions, like you're just going to throw her back into canon, because first of all, her character really intertwines with a lot of the original trilogy characters, and I mean a lot, and I'll get into that in just a second, but her character arc spans all the way through the original trilogy, and a lot of it alongside Luke Skywalker, Leia, and Han, all of that. So you can't just write her back into canon like that. That's a little hard to do. But first of all, we have to even know, first off, is this even real? That's the first thing we got to take a look at here. And I really don't know if it's real. If it's not, oh well, it could be though, we never know. Now my reasoning for thinking that this could possibly be just faked and someone just did it on their own is because this was tweeted out and someone was like, please tell me this isn't real. This isn't, I don't want this to be a real thing. And Matt Martin replied to that. Now, if you don't know who Matt Martin is, he's the creative executive behind Lucasfilm's storyboard group. So he's the head guy in charge for all of the storyboard stuff. And he replied and he said that, I don't know for sure, but I would be surprised if it was real. It looks like a decal. If Imagineering put that in as graffiti, I would think it'd look more handwritten. I can confirm that never came across my desk. So the idea, he says, never came across his desk, but of course, you know, he's the head of the creative department, so he's going to have a bunch of stuff going through his hands all day. I imagine it's possible that a few things probably might just get past him without him even thinking about it. I doubt that's the case, but he does bring up the point that he says the Imagineering, and I imagine that's the department for Galaxy's Edge that puts that stuff everywhere, when he said that if it was real, it would look more like graffiti versus a legit decal that's just put there. I could be misinterpreting that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but it just like, I'm wondering now, is like, could this possibly be real? And originally this video was going to be, hey, we might have Mara Jade back in canon because of this, but because he replied to this and said, I'm not sure if this is real, I never, confirmed that this should go out there, we don't know, but there's still some stuff that needs to be answered. Like, first off, let's get back to this. Who is Mara Jade? Because I guarantee there is a lot of people out there that might be familiar with the character, might really know the character, might have only heard the name, or just flat out don't know. And to cut it short, because there's literally like days upon days of storytelling you could get behind Mara Jade, she was literally everything. From a personal assassin to Emperor Palpatine during the days of the Empire, she was a respected smuggler, a Jedi Master, and the big ticket winner, the wife to Luke Skywalker. But it was pretty intense. She was a part of a group called the Emperor's Hand, which was like the elite of the elite, and she was in the small group that answered only to the Emperor and Vader as like elite assassins that went out and did a whole bunch of really not good stuff. One of the bigger things she actually did that everyone knows her for is that she went undercover as a dancer in Jabba's palace to assassinate Luke Skywalker when he was there to rescue Han in Return of the Jedi. But her plan fell through. Jabba thought that she was sent there to actually kill him instead of Luke, so she ended up getting thrown to the wayside. And if that hadn't happened, she probably would have assassinated Luke right there in Jabba's palace, and the story we know probably could have been really different. And there's definitely a whole lot more that goes into her story as it just goes on and on and on, but here's where we get into possible spoiler territories for something that's 20, 30 plus years old, so sorry, I guess. But she does end up getting killed by Jacen Solo, who is the son of Leia and Han in the EU, which is now, I guess, been reorganized as Ben Solo or Kylo Ren as we have now. He was both in EU and in canon. Their son did turn to the dark side, but they had more kids in the EU, so it's wishy-washy over which one you really want. You know, Ben Solo, Jacen Solo, I guess. Now, what does this mean? Could they technically just bring her back into the canon? Yes, I guess you could rewrite her story a little bit, just because we've already seen that it works well with other characters, such as Grand Admiral Thrawn. Timothy Zahn had a great trilogy set of books about him. It was now decanonized, but then they brought him back and they just revamped the character for a brand new trilogy set, and they put him as the main antagonist in the season 3 and 4 of Star Wars Rebels. So, I mean, it's possible, because that main story, as far as between episodes 3 and 6, are fine. It's what happens after that where it gets a little tricky, especially with Thrawn. Now, coming back to Mara Jade, could they bring her back into canon? Yes. Would it be excruciatingly difficult to do? Yes, simply because she's Luke Skywalker's wife. They have a kid together named, ironically enough, Ben Skywalker, different from Ben Solo in the new canon. I wonder where they got that idea from. So you can't just rewrite those certain aspects. That's someone that is so important to the Star Wars EU. If you just bring Mara Jade back in and make her some rando character, just don't even think about doing that. But if so, here's my thoughts. I got 3 thought processes on this. If it's possible and they bring her back into canon, what could we see? They could just bring her actual character back into canon and just tweak a little bit of it so it makes sense in the new canon. I think it could be done. It would just be extremely hard to do, especially since there's still the giant gap between episodes 6 and 7, so we don't really know what happened with Luke during that time. It would still be super easy to make her still the Emperor's hand and, you know, make her that assassin that she used to be during the days of the Empire, because that stuff was already there beforehand, so it really doesn't need to be retouched up. You can just keep it as it is. Maybe retell the story a little different if you want. But if she is brought back in canon and still stays as Luke's wife, that leads to more theories about our favorite person we all know and love, which is Rey from the new Star Wars trilogy. Who's her parents? We don't know. Is she a clone? Does she even exist at all? These questions have been asked since day one. Everyone says she's a Skywalker. Someone says she's a clone of Palpatine. Someone says she's just related to Palpatine. She's possibly part of the Solo family. We don't know. But if they want to bring Mara Jade back in and make her Mara Jade Skywalker, it is very possible that maybe somewhere down the line they had a kid who happened to be Rey, and that's why they left her on the planet of Jakku after the whole thing went down with the Jedi Temple burning to the ground, which is why the ship that was flying away when we see it in the flashback in Episode 7 looks very similar to the ship that Luke has in Expanded Universe non-canon stuff anymore. There's a lot in there, just look into it, trust me. You start tying stuff together, and that's how you get rumors, plot holes, and all that fun stuff. But that's a possibility we could get. Maybe that's Rey's parentage right there, just told straight as it is. I think it would be a really cheap way to go, especially when just like giving the shaft to Mara Jade, who is a literally fantastic character, and you're going to give her no screen time just to be like, by the way, that's your mom and I'm your dad. Just don't do that. Or we can move to my third theory, and that is that someone is just a really good artist and put it on the stall wall as a joke, saying, hey, Mara Jade lives, and everyone kind of just lost their minds over it. That's probably what this is, unfortunately, but it would be cool to see her back in the new canon in any way, shape, or form, just as long as they don't mess with the character as much, like they did with Thrawn. They still kept him exactly as he is, changed his backstory by like 1 or 2 minor things, and everything else is still true to the original story. And I'm actually okay with that, but what do you guys think? Mara Jade is a big deal for some people, and I really understand that. So let me know in the comments down below your feelings, your thoughts, your opinions on this. Would you rather she stay in the expanded universe as Legends material and not touch her story at all and let it sit as it was, which was fantastic as is? Or do you think they could possibly bring her into the new canon, rework her story a little bit just to make it work? Maybe she still ends up with Luke. I don't know. It'd be really hard to do, but let me know your thoughts about it. I want to talk about it. But I guess until we get any possible information that could lead around this, which is probably just going to be with someone just saying it's either, yeah, okay, we're bringing Mara Jade back in some fashion, or someone just saying, nope, it wasn't us, someone did this in the stall, it's a joke, sorry, it's not happening, we're leaving it alone. Who knows, it could happen either way, but until we get any more news about that, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos, or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.